Oh, man. Hi, everyone. Neathany Shave Tano here, the internet's busiest music nerd, and it's time for a review of this new Sudan Archives record, Natural Brown Prom Queen. This is the sophomore release of singer, rapper, songwriter, violinist, producer Sudan Archives. There's always been something otherworldly and mystical about Sudan Moon's particular fusions of art pop and hip-hop, folk music, R&B. From the moment I heard tracks like Glorious and Confessions, I knew this was going to be an artist to watch, even if her debut record didn't end up being one of my favorites of that year. However, Natural Brown Prom Queen is all of that potential mostly realized, and I say mostly because the creativity on this LP is so versatile, it's so intense, I feel like she could easily leapfrog this album in a few years' time. Sudan has really spoiled us on this project with almost an hour of material, and sure, it's not the tightest record you will hear this year. It's long, it's sprawling, it's a little all over the place. This is a record that really requires patience, not just because it's not trying to hit you with this cut and dry series of ditties, but also you have to kind of come to grips and process every single genre fusion and sound palette it's trying to hit you with. Because honestly, Sudan never really does it the same way twice on this thing. The ambitions here, I think, are so great they are difficult to quantify. Like, this album isn't just trying to get a good score on a Fantano review or some shit like that. It's trying to communicate with the spirits, it's trying to ponder metaphysics, or personify some deep personal feelings around sex, culture, or societal limitations through one enchanting and lavish cut after another. Whether that be Homemaker, which is a disco-inspired epic, with endless grooves and bright touches of strings on the chorus, also very alluring lyrics about changing, becoming a different person, and providing a space for a lover in your life to be relaxed and be able to be themselves. I love how heavy and grand the hooks are on this track, how the verses build up to them so intensely. It's gorgeous. It's gorgeous. It's gorgeous. Then NBPQ's plucky folk loops and persistent claps provide this perfect balance between a rustic sound palette but also modern beat production. Plus, I love the radical shifts in sound along these various breaks and drops, from the choral passages that sound like angels singing, beaming down from heaven, or the spoken word sections in the second half. The lyrics on this track provide a character portrait of the artist herself, also some jabs at media biases against dark-skinned women. Then, stylistically, CIARA switches up things once again with some left field R&B that is underscored by some booming bass, a skittering beat too. The whole thing sounds smooth, and yet it's so bustling, it's so detailed. Then Sudan is smashing it on the vocal front with the melodies, the sensuality, the harmonies, really telling a tale of tension between her and someone else who she finds to be two-faced. At one point she may have been very close with this person, but that doesn't matter anymore. Things have changed and now she needs to leave them behind. Then the bops keep coming on this record with Selfish Soul, which the range with the bouncy beat, rumbling bass, very distant reverb-soaked harmonies. Whole thing sounds like a really quirky piece of folk-inspired New York indie pop from the mid-2000s, but just done impeccably well with a great song, and those vocal and those folk elements are incorporated in such a way where they don't feel tacky. The boundaries on this record are pushed even further with Loyal, with the horns and woodwinds. The arranged sections of instrumentation on this track are gorgeous. Plus, I love how massive and chaotic the final crescendo of the track gets with these rumbling shots of bass that are so overpowering they almost swallow the whole mix. Then with OMG BRITT, Sudan essentially puts her own spin on psychedelic trap, and it's so fucking good that it pretty much, in my eyes, outdoes much of what we hear out there at the forefront of this sound in the mainstream today. There are a few cuts that I'm a little mild on to follow, though. Chevy S10 is easily the most meditative song on this entire LP at 6 minutes, and there are some portions of it that I love, especially the intro and the very groovy outro. But the ride in between point A and point B does tend to meander a little bit. I think this track could have been cut down by a minute or so and it would have been a lot punchier for it. And then the pitchy singing on Copycat I just do not think comes across all that flattering, especially considering how good much of the singing is on the rest of this record. But with that being said, the dense string harmonies on the song FLUE are gorgeous. I think the album kind of bounces back on this cut with the spotlit vocals and drums on the verses. I think the song finds a lot of beauty in simplicity, and how it builds up from there with these hypnotic mantras. It's just pure art pop elegance. TDLY's combination of rapped verses, folky string licks, and bouncing beats is interesting but a little off. Sudan's vocal delivery isn't as strong as it could be and tends to be a little swallowed in the production. However, the production on this track is incredible as it gets thicker and grander toward the finish. There are some fantastic things about this track. It still does get kudos on. I think it's mostly there, just the mix is a bit messy. Then things get pretty sexy on the next few tracks, starting with FREAKALIZER, which is this dance pop throwback with a very crisp 80s beat, then some awesome touches of breathy group vocals, synth arpeggios, and some moody keys. This song is just desire personified, but then the thirst turns into longing on the track Homesick, which is kind of like a very sad, horny dream sequence in a way. And even if it is one of the most spacious slow burners on the entire record, the emotional intensity of it is pretty fiery. Milk Me is intensely sexual too, maybe not as stunning on the song side, but its very direct and raunchy, detailed lyrics definitely make it a standout of sorts. Then the LP sticks the landing with the dreamy hip-hop fusion of Yellow Brick Road. That one is fantastic. Then 513 at the very end of the album is almost like a bit of a final statement, a manifesto, with mentions of Sudan not really caring for tricky, trendy things, thinking Hollywood will eventually turn someone hollow, being unfazed by obstacles in her way. This track is hard-hitting. It's a great moment of finality. There are some trippy beat switch-ups too that remind me almost of like Shabazz Palaces. And yeah, I mean, in a nutshell, and I try to kind of break it down as much as I can, there are a lot of awesome and fantastic layers and details that you can eat up on this album over and over and over and over again. Believe me, this is just like a surface level analysis of everything this album has going for it. There's a lot to take in here. Yeah, mostly everything about this album is wonderful, is beautiful, is stunning. And as amazing as this is, like I said at the start of the review, I feel like she could totally knock it out of the park even harder than she did on this one. But this is killer. This is amazing. This is fantastic. And you should absolutely be listening to this record. It's a little patience testing at points. It's, yes, a little scattered, a little cluttered. A few tracks I'm not super crazy about, but geez, like the vast majority of what is here is just a delight to listen to. I'm feeling a decent to strong 8 on this one. Transition, have you given this record a listen? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? You're the best, you're the best. What should I review next? Hit the like if you like. Please subscribe and please don't cry. Hit the bell as well. Over here next to my head, it's another video that you can check out. Hit that up or the link to subscribe to the channel. Anthony Fantana, Sudan Archives, forever.